All right, everyone. Mitt Romney has weighed in on the idea of replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg now as opposed to waiting for the election. He appears to be a yay and not a nay. Now, of course, this is Mitt Romney, so, he might weasel his way around it. Maybe he says, well, yeah, I said that I would vote to have a vote, but I didn't say that I would vote yay on the actual confirmation. He's known for stuff like that. But even, keep in mind, even if he holds out, like they have a vote and he inexplicably votes no, then it's a tie. Pence comes in. Murkowski and Collins have decided to vote against it. They are goofballs. And they're not doing it because, well, I'm not partisan. I put my principles above politics. They did this with Kavanaugh without any goddamn reason whatsoever. Well, maybe we won't vote in favor of him. I think Collins at the end of the day did, and I think Murkowski didn't. Or I could have gotten those in reverse. They're not doing it out of principle. They're doing it to grandstand. They want their names in the paper. They think Trump will lose, and they want to have maybe a little bit of a brownie point with Biden or something like that. That's what they want. They're doing it for their careers. If they were doing it for genuinely nonpartisan reasons, and trust me, it would be easy to tell, then I would applaud them, because I'm not a Republican, and I'm certainly not a partisan of any stripe. They're not doing it for that purpose. They're doing it for self-serving reasons. Mitt Romney, by the way, is fundamentally correct. Typically speaking, if you look at the history of SCOTUS appointees, if it's in an election year, close to an election, if the Senate is controlled by the party of the president, they will vote them through. For partisan reasons, for nothing other than that. Democrats, Republicans, whatever the composition be, why would they look a gift horse in the mouth? They're not going to sit there and cut off their nose to spite their face and say, well, we need decorum, so we're not going to do this. There's plenty of precedent for them to vote them through. Before, by the way, both election and inauguration day. They should do it as quickly as possible. Cut the vetting process to a couple of goddamn weeks and do it during one of the debates. That's what Mitch McConnell should do. Thankfully, he's strategically wise enough, so he probably will try to do that. Murkowski, Collins, and these other morons aside, you will probably see... Finally, there will be 5 justices on the Supreme Court that are consistently pro-gun. I think that's a great idea. And then, of course, if the Senate, and Romney's correct on this, you've got me defending Mitt Romney, and the world's done a 180 recently. If the Senate is of not the president's party, and he tries to appoint something, then they'll not hold the vote. They'll say, no, of course, why would we want to give our enemy free SCOTUS justice? What are you, fucking batshit? So this has precedent. The idea that this began with Merrick Garland in, 2014 or 15 or something, that's not true. That's simply not the case. And the fact is the Senate was controlled by the GOP. Of course, yes, standard precedent. They're not going to put Garland through. They waited. And then the people spoke, and Trump happens to get 3 SCOTUS nominees. If Trump gets a second term, it's going to be the Trump SCOTUS at some point because he'll probably get a 4th. He could even get a 5th. Both of which, by the way, will replace conservatives, presumably, but it'll be a Trump Supreme Court for about 20 years thereafter. I think that's a wonderful thing. I think he's got... The populistic pro-business, pro-gun bent means that I can deal with the pro-life bullshit. And of course, Kavanaugh and Roberts have both sided with the liberals on these issues. It doesn't matter if Ginsburg, by the way, is replaced by someone who's pro-life. It would still be a 5-4 decision to uphold Roe v. Wade. Now, if you look at the people that are being optioned, there's Amy Coney Barrett, there's Barbara Lagoa, and then the third one, Rushing, I think her name is. I can't remember exactly her name. They're basically 3 main contenders, and standard wisdom is Amy Coney Barrett is at the top of the list. We're not exactly sure. I've looked into all 3 of them, and they all seem to be pro-gun, which is important. They're all pro-life, or what I would call anti-choice. I may, not agree with that, but it's not going to change the court's ultimate decision because Kavanaugh and Roberts happen to exist. That's not going to make any difference. If I thought there was going to be a significant hazarding of civic equality for women, I'd be concerned about that. That being said, since I don't see that actually happening, and since I do think this will pave the way for 10, 15 years of continuous pro-gun decisions where the court will actually finally have 5 principled conservatives on the issue in order to bring things through and vote for them even under split decisions, I would say that's a good thing. It's an acceptable trade-off. None of these 3 people are like A+ grade. They're not libertarians, in other words. Like Amy Coney Barrett has done pro-business decisions. The others, they have, their own little foibles. They're acceptable. And again, you've got an occult, irreligious person who voted for Obama in 2008 and was like a Ron Paulite. You've got me siding with essentially corporate conservatives on this. The left is beyond the pale. This is another symptom of the left having overstretched so badly. They've overstretched so badly, they've got libertarians willing to entertain a pro-corporate power candidate for SCOTUS. And not because we're abandoning our principles, but because the alternative is fucking communism, dude. What do you fucking expect? Now, Romney's true when he says that. The actual precedent is that you do vote them through if you're president and you're senator of the same party. That's the precedent. The Democrats are hoping that you'll ignore that. Do I expect a replacement before the election? A bit better than a 50-50 chance. Before inauguration, 99% chance. There's always the chance that the Republicans fuck it up. Never underestimate the ability of the GOP to inch forward when they're given a mandate instead of plowing in because they get scared. They act like cowards. Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump aren't your grandpa's Republicans. They'll go forward and actually try to get shit done. Many Republicans are skittish. They are easily startled. They are easily frightened. They're like sand people in Star Wars or something. But they never come back in greater numbers. Instead, they just hide in a cave or something. They're very cowardly. It's not like the Democrats. We see the Democrats' problems on full display right now. They go too far. You give them an inch, they try to take a mile, and they piss everybody off in the process. Then they act like you're a bigot, and then they act awestruck when you smack them in the cock, which is exactly what, by the way, the American voters have done by electing Trump and now giving him a third SCOTUS appointee. We have said enough is enough in the United States. Enough is enough of the progressive bullshit because it's not progress. That's essentially what the American voters have said. When they say, well, the voters have the right to decide. They already did. They already did. They voted for the fucker. He's getting a SCOTUS appointee. Good. It's wonderful that he's going to be able to replace Ginsburg. I was skeptical maybe at first that this would be a good thing. I had said for years that actually it could be basically like dropping an atom bomb in the election. It'll definitely rile the Democrats up. You have Democrats right now. Keep in mind how stupid some of these people are. None of them took political history. I did. When they say, well, it doesn't matter, we'll just inflate the court to 11 justices once Biden's elected. Do you realize how fucking goddamn insane you sound? To politicize SCOTUS more than it's already politicized? Yeah, talk about a bad idea. And then the next time there's a Republican president, maybe they add 4 more justices, and then there's 50. Eventually, you end up with like 1 million Supreme Court justices because each subsequent administration decides to seize the power over the judiciary. It's crazy talk. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. The whole point of the court, the whole point of lifetime appointments for the justices and large non-accountability, the whole point was to keep them as independent as possible. You're essentially trying to make them dependent upon the executive branch and elements of the Senate. That's the worst thing you can do. It's just like when they talk about eliminating the Electoral College and moving to a direct democracy. Yes, great way to disenfranchise most of the country and cause potentially destabilization and maybe an actual civil war. Right now we've got rioters already. We've already got plenty of problems. We don't need to rock the boat at the point. I would definitely agree. Ginsburg should be replaced post-haste. The second that Trump names an appointee, the Republicans should immediately bring it forward. They should preempt the fear-mongering and paranoia of the legacy media. Here's what will happen. The second he names an appointee, expect 1,000 articles from the corporate media highlighting specifically what's wrong with them. Even groups like a Lincoln Project, like a Never Trump Republican group, they're not going to highlight a single good thing about the appointee. That will be completely ignored, lie by omission. They will focus on whatever happens to be wrong with them, and then they will subsequently begin a campaign of harassment and intimidation towards Republican voters and Republican senators especially. Like they threatened to show up at Lindsey Graham's house and stuff, and it's like literally terrorism, but okay. Trying to intimidate public officials, I'm pretty sure that's against the law, but we'll get past that for now. You will see a campaign of disinfo and harassment. You will see lots of lies by structure. The legacy media articles, when they talk about, well, the top 10 decisions of Amy Coney Barrett or whoever's chosen, Lagoa or whatever, rushing, they will conveniently, anything good about the person will be at the end of the article. It'll be included. It's just that 99% of the readers will never get it. You're going to see harassment of the individual and character assassination in congressional sessions with the Senate. You're going to see a lot of grandstanding on TV by idiots like Murkowski. Even Romney probably will. Keep in mind, just the fact that Romney says, well, yeah, I'm inclined to vote for, doesn't mean he will. He might, at the end of the day, because he's old and he has nothing to lose, he might inexplicably say, oh, well, no, I'm not convinced, I'm voting no, forcing Mike Pence to issue a tie-breaking vote, which will cause chaos. And in fact, Mitt Romney saying, yeah, go ahead, don't worry, I have no problem with it, might be a trap. We got to be ready for that possibility. I wouldn't even be particularly surprised from greasy car salesman Mitt. But keep in mind, if he votes yay and this gets through and it's taken off as an election issue, we'll have finally found something that Mitt Romney was useful for. It's been a while. That's about all. Peace out.